Welcome back to the Pink Floyd Collectors YouTube channel. I've just returned from Ireland where I got to see the couple of first opening gigs. So I thought I'd do an overview video just to share with everyone what happened over there and what you're in for a treat for if you've got tickets. The first date, and the one I'm going to cover here mostly, is going to be the Convention Centre in Dublin. So as you can see, this is a drive-through, if you like, passing through the different memorabilia. Two lovely exclusive posters on this tour. They're not limited, so they're not out of 500 or out of 1,000, but they are beautiful. So definitely check those out. As you can see here, they were running about 50 euros for the signed version and 25 for the non-signed. You've also got an exclusive mug on this tour as well. So last time it was white, this time it's black. So some lovely items, and obviously if you're a collector like myself, it's always good to pick these up when it happens, because afterwards it becomes quite hard to get. So this was our view of the stage, and as you can see, Nick Mason has updated his drum kit. It now looks very similar to the 1974 design.
Thank you all for coming. We're absolutely thrilled to be back and playing. I can't tell you how much it means to us. In fact, we were actually worried. We weren't really worried about a stage invasion so much as that the band might actually go out there. Hey! And we were specifically banned from crowd surfing on that basis. So, possibly the Professor. It's taken me over 50 years to come back to Ireland to play. So, it's quite a moment for me. On that note, we'll continue.
Yeah, so as you could hear there, Nick Mason was genuinely happy to be back on stage after a 2-year delay. The whole band were pretty nervous throughout. There was a few technical errors, few problems with audio, but the gig itself went down really well, especially with the locals. The sound, the set list itself has changed, and of course the big change is the inclusion now of echoes. This was the first venue to actually hear the live version of Echoes that the band are doing, and it is something that's going to be, if you like, the main feature going forward. The gig also starts off with One of These Days, with Guy Pratt being off stage, starting the riff off. So there's nobody on stage. All you get is that thumping riff, which works really well. So obviously this video has got massive spoilers, and I will make that clear in the title as well. If you're going to the show, it could be that it evolves anyway. One of the other highlights of the show is Candy and the Currant Bun, which gets the original lyric inserted into it. Also, look out for a great Nick Mason vocal performance. It really is quite funny. I won't even talk about it here, but just wait. If you've got tickets for the show, check it out. It is online, the video, so you can see it there.
It's a good moment to recognise Sid and what he did and how he actually launched Pink Floyd. Without Sid, well, I wouldn't be here now, but nor would any of the other records that we made afterwards. They're also an interesting trio of songs, really, because at the time, Arnold Lane and the B-side, Candy and the Currant Bun, was banned because its original title was Let's Roll Another One, which the BBC thought was just a bit too much. And Vegetable Man was a never completed song, in fact. It was done at the time of Saucer, and we only ever really had half a song to work with. But we just liked to play it as a sort of scrap of a really interesting song that was a forerunner for all sorts of things that happened 20, 30 years later. So, with that mention of Sid, we will continue.
This is my first time here ever with a Pink Floyd related project. Having only 35 years under my belt. Still not enough for some people, is it? No, it's great to be here. It's been fantastic back in Dublin, loved it. We went to Oscar Wilde's house today. It's great. this is a song about looking back, and it was written by another person we miss greatly, the wonderful Rick Wright. For me, because it's kind of about your childhood, because he's my son's grandfather. So, this is Remember a Day.
The band. Starting with Mr. Lee Harris on guitar. And Mr. Don Beacon on keyboards. And on bass guitar and vocals, Mr. Guy Pratt. It's an interesting band because there were no auditions. It was an old-fashioned way of putting a band together with people who knew each other, liked each other, and thought it'd be fun to play together. I mean, in Gary's case, I'm not quite sure whether he actually thought he was going to get Roger Waters, and I was actually going to get Tony Hadley.
That's a fun I want to see.
But it's all worked out fine in the end. So, Mr. Gary Camp on guitar and vocals.
You know what a privilege it is for me to be back on the road with someone who created such an important part of my cultural history, of my growing up, who gave me that musical landscape that I still refer to today as being the greatest time ever, the golden age of music, and I'm sure it's the same for you guys here too. And to be on stage with one of the key people of that genre, of that time, Mr. Nick Mason, what a privilege.
We plan to do one more song and then we're going to take a short break. So please don't all rush off home. I assume you've all checked your tickets. If you're expecting Little Mix, I'm afraid you've made a grave mistake. And I shall be featuring myself on the gong, which is something I've been looking forward to for some time.
Forever grateful. He stole my thunder slightly, because I was going to mention the Rock-On-Tours. It's so great to actually be on the road with my fellow Rock-On-Tour. So I guess a lot of you have heard it. What's your favourite episodes?
Nick!
Mate, you meant to say Nick Mason. Apologies, Nick. It was early in our career.
In fact, we have to thank Nick for agreeing to do the first one, which is probably why we have a series at all.
Oh, Brown Nose Award. I'm just waiting for my guitar. I actually met an American guy who'd seen us 6 times in America in the hotel, and he's come over here to see the first show. And we're all pretty nervous, I have to say. It's good to be back, but it's quite frightening. Thank you for helping us through this. And then he said his favourite part was because he brought his daughter to see us play, because he named her after one of the songs. So her name is Emily, and this is, of course,
Yeah, so a few bits there from the show. The last one being Gary, talking about actually an American guy who was there with his daughter, especially to see Emily play. Her name was Emily. We caught up with them at the hotel afterwards, actually. It was great, and they enjoyed the show immensely. He also touched on there that the fact that the band were nervous, and that did show, but come on, I think not only were they nervous, I think there was a lot of relief as well, having this been delayed in 2020. Then they did think it was coming back in 2021, so there was rehearsals. They really got into Echoes and wanting to perform it live, and then that didn't happen. It was delayed another year. So there was a lot of relief around these shows, and you really felt that. And actually the show after this in Belfast, again, a few technical errors, one being quite a funny intro of One of These Days into halfway through Atom Heart Mother, which you can imagine did sound quite surreal you're listening to Atom Heart Mother, and then suddenly one of these days I'm going to cut you into little pieces, fades across the audio system, to which the whole band like looked as surprised as the audience. But it was a comical moment ultimately, which Nick Mason did actually comment on after the song. But it's bits like this that make the live performance so attractive, and that's why we go to these shows. You need that. So yeah, playing now is a short clip from Echoes. I haven't included the audio, but you can find it online if you want to hear it. It's a great version. It's 16 minutes long. There was a lot of talk about whether the band would really edit it down, so cut out a lot of the mid-drift bit just to make it a bit more palatable for maybe some of the fans that aren't prepared to sit for a 16-minute song. But no, if you compare it to the original, it's 4 minutes shorter. I know there are longer versions from bootlegs, but yeah, I think 16 minutes is great. And the band absolutely nailed it the first time. I think I did manage to speak to Lee the day after. We spoke on the phone, and he talked to me. One of the things he made clear to me was Echoes was the one thing they really wanted to get right. It's the one thing that they've been rehearsing the most. Everything else they could kind of use a bit of muscle memory on, but Echoes was the one song that they felt that they really wanted to get it right the first time, and they will build on it as well. So but it was fantastic. Absolutely no complaints at all. Really enjoyed it, and it's one reason to go to the show basically. Yeah, so as we build towards the end of the show, it ends on two songs as you like. If you like, it's the encore. One is Saucerful of Secrets and then Bike. I just want to give a mention, because the band don't actually, but this features the animation of Alexander Telsbeck. He's a Swedish artist. I think his social media name is Artist on the Border. I think a couple of years ago now, he became really popular because of the animation that he'd done. And he sent that work to Guy Pratt. And Guy did say, we'll try and include it in the show. And as you can see, that was the case. Saucerful of Secrets, first of all, features all the animated album cover that Alexander did. It looks fantastic on the large screen. Really, really works well. And then also Bike includes the Relics animation, which I think was featured before, maybe for a different song, maybe through Cirrus Minor from memory. But this time, yeah, it's as part of Bike, which does make more sense. It was on Relics, unlike the previous track where it was played live. But certainly look out for Alexander's work later on in the show. I know Alex is looking at releasing some prints from this. And obviously that's something we'll report on as soon as it happens. It's fantastic animation. I know he worked hard on it, so congrats. Here's the set list, so you can have a look over what actually was played. Also a close-up on the signatures of the various posters and also the tote bag there, the mugs and the cap.